you a neat freak, or are you someone that thrives on organised chaos? To truly optimise the feeling of home, up to 32% more productive. Low serotonin and oxytocin levels have been linked to increased aggression and depression. There can be differences in the intensity of this need between introverts and extroverts. High alert until the threat is perceived to have passed. This increases the risk of obesity, diabetes, depression, and even early death. What design formula can we form then that works every time for every person? What makes a home truly feel like a home to you? And what does your current home say about you? Today, I'm going to show you the science-backed formula on how to design your home for optimal well-being from the ground up. And the good news is, anyone can do it. My daughter seems to automatically make whatever space she's in her own little home. She'll put this there and that over there, put a blanket down there, stand up a cardboard box, put a lamp in there, put a picture she's drawn, and then make a space where she can curl up and read or draw or create. This automatic mechanism is purely innate to her nature. My son, on the other hand, doesn't need much to feel at home. If he's got a book, a bed to lie on, a bookshelf with some graphic novels on it, and can see the outside world through a window, he's happy. Why such a difference between them? In this video, we'll answer and examine what makes us feel at home in 3 ways. We'll discuss a science-based design framework that we can use to tailor our spaces to meet the big 5 human psychological needs. Then we'll explore what our current spaces might say about our personality and how that should influence the improved spaces that we're designing. Lastly, we'll define the design formula for creating a home that makes us feel at home but also provides a launching pad for personal growth. Hi, I'm Sam. I've been a building designer in Australia for nearly 20 years, having designed over 1,000 homes to date. I make videos on how homes affect our well-being on the physiological level, and we detail practical formulas that ensures anyone can improve their well-being through thoughtful and intentional home design. The difference between a house and a home is essentially psychological. You can take 2 people, put them in a house or a building. One person might feel at home in that building, and the other person might not feel at home at all in that building. You might ask them, what makes you feel at home or not at home here? They might be able to identify a few things, or they might not. They might just say, I don't know, it's just the way the space makes me feel. Well, what is this feeling? And how can we harness that feeling in a design formula to make our home feel like home? Part 1, the big 5. From birth, people have the desire to feel at home, often being tied to personal psychological associations with familiar settings or current personal habits. The latest scientific research shows general patterns in how humans feel in different spaces. So when designing our home, there are certain science-backed rules of human nature that must be followed if feeling at home is the goal. But it's also crucial to tailor the design to the individual. Architects and designers should adopt a people-first approach if they aren't already, to evoke specific psychological responses through the design of the physical spaces they create. In the context of home, the assumed intent would be to generally make someone feel comfortable enough to relax, to regenerate and engender a sense of well-being and contentment. But more recently, the need to have productive spaces in the home has also arisen with working from home arrangements. To understand how to create these psychological and emotional responses, we need to create a framework to examine and understand these states of mind better. The framework we'll be using today is a well-known base-level theory of human needs. This theory is Abraham Maslow's 1943 theory of human contentment and happiness, commonly called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This framework is presented in a pyramid form with the debated premise that it's harder to move on to the next level of the pyramid without mostly fulfilling the level below it. So what are the big 5 human psychological needs then? Although Maslow didn't create this psychological model with home design in mind specifically, as we explore these needs, particularly the first 3, you'll see how profoundly they influence home design and why. The first need covers the most basic needs for physical survival. These needs are breathing, food, water, shelter, sleep, and we'd like to add light to this category too. If this level of need is not met, the body simply can't function optimally. For instance, if you don't get proper sleep, studies have shown that this increases the risk of obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, depression, and even early death. Meeting these needs is the most important, as the next level may not be able to be pursued without fully satisfying this level of needs first. Now, this level of need and the next are arguably the easiest to design a home around. So our first human need is physiological. The second type of need has to do with safety and security. An example of this would be feeling safe from physical harm when you close the front door of your home. This may be a psychological perception rather than fact, of course, but even so, the constant feeling of being unsafe in your own home because you can't escape the dangers outside can result in chronic stress caused by constant activation of the sympathetic nervous system. That's our alertness system in our bodies that perceives a threat and induces the continual release of the stress and alertness hormones cortisol and adrenaline. And this results in your body staying on high alert until the threat is perceived to have passed. Some ways that this need can be met might be simply by adding better locks to doors or installing cost-effective security cameras to support this need of safety and security. Third type of need has to do with our interpersonal relationships, connection with others, and feeling that you're part of a social group. There can be differences in the intensity of this need between introverts and extrovert types of people, but almost all humans require some level of belonging and love for contentment. The contentment hormone serotonin and the love hormone oxytocin are heavily influenced by this need. Studies have shown that high levels of these hormones increase a person's trust in others, and also increases our defensiveness of our loved ones. Whereas low serotonin and oxytocin levels have been linked to increased aggression and depression. One of the best ways to meet the human need for love and belonging is to design the home for connection with others. Whether it's just the family within the household on a daily basis, or regularly entertaining friends and family, having a comfortable communal space within the home is important to facilitate our third psychological need, love and belonging. Fourthly, having a healthy self-worth is important for personal growth because it provides the launching pad for independence and the accomplishment of your own goals. This then gives a person a sense of contribution or value that they've provided to the world. And if you found any value in this video up till now, please like the video. It really means a lot. How do we set up our homes in a way that facilitates a healthy self-worth? This could be achieved by designing in features that celebrate accomplishments. It could be as simple as putting a family member's accomplishments on the fridge, like a picture that your 6-year-old drew, or a certificate of achievement from school. The fridge then becomes a public display of that accomplishment. It reminds the person that achieved it that they accomplished it, and that generates feelings of self-worth. The thought of it being worthy of being displayed to others also provides the feeling of public respect and being valued by others. It's also important to provide spaces within the home where further growth can be pursued. And this could be an area for study or spaces for hobbies and increasing skills and interests to continually support esteem. The final level of Maslow's 1943 hierarchy is probably the most controversial level of the 5. It refers to the realization of a person's full potential, self-fulfillment, and personal growth in a peak experience called self-actualization. What's that? Well, Maslow believed that very few people ever reach complete self-actualization when a person's full potential is completely realized. An example of this might be an Olympian winning a gold medal, or designing a world-famous building, or becoming president of the United States. All of these types of peak experiences are hard to maintain on a constant basis. The pursuit of this top tier of the pyramid can be debated to no end, but one thing is clear. To reach these moments of complete self-actualization requires extreme dedication, self-discipline, sacrifices, and of course, dedicated building design spaces that facilitated the journey to those moments. If you're interested in reaching your full potential, the spaces around you also need to support that journey, and they should be tailored specifically to help you achieve your goal of self-actualization. But there's something missing from the Big 5. And at the end of this video, we'll combine all of that together with the next topic we're going to talk about. So we can identify the design formula for creating a home that makes us feel at home, but that also provides a launching pad, personal growth. Are you a neat freak, or are you someone that thrives on organized chaos? And what does that say about your personality? Part 2, Personalization. Why? Dr. Sam Gosling, a professor at Texas University, wrote a book called Snoop, what your stuff says about you. In that book, he explained a snooping experiment they conducted with university students, where they snooped around their rooms, with the students' permission of course, to see if they could build personality profiles of the students, kind of Sherlock Holmes style. And their findings were absolutely fascinating. In his presentation at Wired for Wonder in 2015, Dr. Gosling showed pictures of 2 student dorm rooms. The rooms were identically bare just a few weeks earlier, but very soon they started to show significant behavioural residue of the people that occupied them. He proposed that individuals tend to craft their physical environments that reflect and reinforce who they are. They were rated on perceived levels of neuroticism, extroversion, openness, agreeableness, and conscientiousness. What personality profile would you start to piece together about the room on the left? Person 1. Well, perhaps they could rate high on conscientiousness, an organised type of person that knows where everything is and goes, perhaps doesn't like clutter and perhaps likes to plan ahead, maybe be on time to places. You can see these traits reflected in their environment that they've created for themselves, whether consciously or on autopilot. They could be quite purpose-driven, but so could the person on the right. They could be extroverted, but I'd take a stab that they might be more introverted. What do you think? Comment below. What personality profile would you form about person 2's room on the right? Well, perhaps the person knows where everything is. They just take a minute or two to find it. Perhaps they score low on the conscientious scale, but are maybe quite expressive or open in nature. Maybe they could more easily talk about their feelings. You see the photos on the wall proudly displaying their photography interest, perhaps. They may love art, and we can see a few paintings there. The cat poster, I don't quite know what to make of that. Are they introverted or extroverted? What do you think? It might be a little harder to tell. Here's the question though. Which room would you feel more at home in? If you put person 1 in person 2's room, do you think they'd feel at home? It's not likely. If you put person 2 in person 1's room, do you think they'd feel at home? Probably not likely either. The result of the study found that the researchers could indeed quite reliably build personality profiles of the room occupants just by examining their spaces. This also tells us that people need to feel a level of control and personalised ownership over their spaces to truly optimise the feeling of home. Another study of office workers proved this to be true to a shocking degree. The study of 2,000 office workers in 2010 found that employees who have more control over the design and layout of their workspace are not only happier and healthier, they're also up to 32% more productive. So personalization is clearly necessary and important to feeling at home in the spaces we occupy. It makes us more comfortable and more able to focus on tasks at hand rather than on how uncomfortable our environment is making us feel. But the kind of personalization that we just spoke about doesn't consider one factor: growth. Perhaps person 1 would like to be more like person 2 in some ways. So comfort and feeling at home is crucially important. However, without shaping the space to drive growth, the last 2 needs of Maslow's hierarchy are much harder to reach: esteem and self-actualization. So it's important that the personalization of spaces include inspiring elements to support aspiration, motivation, and personal growth. So what design formula can we form then? How do we combine personalization and growth with Maslow's hierarchy of needs to create a design formula that works every time for every person? Here's the formula. When designing your home and spaces, first, flesh it out. Write down how it meets and fosters the first 2 needs first: physiological and safety and security needs. These needs are mostly practical in nature, and they're often quite clear and consistent across many people. Then, consider how the space will support the 3rd and 4th needs of love and belonging and self-esteem. It's in these categories that we can really start injecting personalization and personal preferences in choices of materials, nostalgic elements and achievements, photos, art, and more. Then we come to self-actualization. This is where self-esteem combines with personal aspirations and motivation for growth, and then the ultimate achievement of your goals. This is where building design gets really specific to include design elements that support and motivate you to achieve your ultimate purpose and your highest goals and aspirations. Identify those and design intentional and purposeful elements into the building that you need to achieve them. So, just like I observed in my daughter and my son, one of the most core human needs is to shape our spaces to make us feel at home. So then, what is our home design formula then? Here it is. Consider the big 5, then personalize. For comfort, and growth. But you probably have a lot of questions on how to design your home for each of the big 5 needs. There's so many other elements to talk about to define how in more detail, like how the climate of your home affects your mood, your sleep and your mental health, and how to improve it, which just so happens to be the subject of our next video. If you found any value in this video at all, please subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of the Home Mind Project. I'm Sam Davies, and I'll see you in the next video.